Is the United Kingdom being sold out by the Boris Johnson government? Well, it seems that according to Paul Baldwin of The Express, and his sources, it has. Confirming that a deal has already been done, and there lies the reason for Dominic Cumming's departure. And then there's Nigel Farage, saying, seeing him leave number 10 carrying a cardboard box tells me a Brexit sellout is close. It will be the end for Boris and the start of a whole new campaign. The public will react. But what exactly is Barnier and his team after, what deal, and what effects would it have on the United Kingdom? It's clear that there are serious problems emerging with the Northern Ireland Protocol. The rushed and poorly drafted agreement now looks like a practical and legal nightmare, with some ministers apparently having been unaware of what they were signing up to. Maybe they should read what they put their names to, on behalf of their constituency. We have already signed one very bad deal, and we must avoid signing another. With this in mind, the so-called level playing field is a critical area for the EU, and is all about trying to prevent the UK competing both in EU markets and in the rest of the world. So-called non-regression clauses are frequent in free trade deals and force parties to uphold existing levels of environmental and labour standards. But the EU wants to go much further than this. Their vision of the level playing field being based on regulatory alignment, rather than unfair competition. A ratchet clause. That would make the UK align continuously to future EU regulations in the environmental, labour and tax fields. This is currently being described by the EU as shared high standards. In practice, this would be a device to try to force dynamic alignment, or control, with the EU threatening to bring in tariffs and other barriers if the UK refused. They want a dispute resolution process for any level playing field issues that has reference, directly or indirectly, to the European Court of Justice, rather than being based on a neutral arbitration panel. With such, they have control of laws and could impose huge financial penalties, tariffs or even sanctions. Again, it's normal for free trade agreements to include state aid sections, where parties agree to refrain from various practices. But the EU is trying to get the UK to effectively shadow its state aid regime and create an unbalanced relationship in this area. State aid rules based on EU rules rather than WTO rules, plus some agreed extras like not allowing unlimited support for failing firms, as in UK deal with Japan. Freedom for the EU to retaliate unilaterally against any perceived breaches of state aid rules, before any arbitration, and also against firms in unrelated sectors. With the European Court of Justice having interpretation of the above, either directly or indirectly. Requirement for the UK government to seek EU Commission permission for state aid proposals. The issue of the UK regaining control of its fishing grounds is about more than just allowing the UK fisheries industry to grow. It is also about the broader strategic issue. That is, the UK having full control of the resources in its exclusive economic zone, both present and future. Not good for an EU strategy that wants to unequally share such resources. The service industry are 80% of the UK economy and almost half of exports. It is important that the UK has maximum freedom to develop the services sector. This is a sticky point for the EU. Its businesses need access to the UK banks to finance any recovery after the pandemic. Any requirements to follow EU rules on financial regulation would again be governed by the European Court of Justice. The UK is a major global financial centre and a rules setter globally. There should be no requirement to shadow EU rules in this area, which are frequently damaging and badly thought out. Whilst agriculture is a small part of the UK economy, high food prices created by EU protectionism impact significantly on the public. Freedom for the UK to set its own regulations is important to allow the UK to unlock trade deals with third countries that open up opportunities for other UK industries. In conclusion, not allowing the EU to react to a dispute in one area by suspending unrelated parts of the agreement or even the whole thing, is paramount. Not allowing any role for the European Court of Justice, direct or indirect, in governing the agreement. Arbitration of disputes must be completely neutral. The lack of a standard exit clause. Either party should be able to leave the whole agreement unilaterally with 12 months' notice, as is normal for such agreements, again totally paramount for future governance and sovereignty. No deal should be agreed to by the House of Commons, especially if it's thrown together at the last minute and the government tries to rush it through with limited scrutiny. Indeed, any attempt to do that would be a sure sign that a very bad deal had been struck. Thank you very much for watching, and please subscribe.